So guys, what is going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So guys, Eddie Hearn has come out and said that he feels that Jermall Charlo and Gennady Golovkin are favourites against Demetrius Andrade. Now, I want to see those fights. And the reason why I'm pushing, I'm doing videos on Charlo and Golovkin and Andrade is because I think the middleweight division, it seems like we've got a problem with these guys unifying. We don't have any of these guys unifying. Now, we have heard that maybe Golovkin and Murata potentially might unify at the end in December, but there seems to be a reluctancy from some of the champions to face one another, like whether it's a promotional issue, whether it's Golovkin, who might be looking for a last payday against Canelo. Now, there are rumours that if Canelo is successful against Saunders and Plant, that he may be looking at a Golovkin fight after, because I do think when Canelo becomes undisputed, he's going to be in a position where I don't think he's going to have many fights left, in the sense that I don't know how long he's going to want to go on. I can't see, I hope I'm wrong, but I can't see Canelo going up and fighting Beterbiev. So I think he's going to look down. And down, you've got guys like Golovkin, Andrade and Charlo. And I think he's going to go for Golovkin, because that will be financially the biggest fight out there. So I don't know whether Golovkin's going to want to take a risk before he gets that Canelo fight. I personally think that trilogy will happen. I think the only way it doesn't happen if Golovkin fights somebody and gets beat. So is Golovkin going to look to take the risk against an Andrade or a Charlo? But I do agree with Eddie Hearn that Golovkin would be favourite in that fight, and so would Charlo. You know, after watching that performance against Liam Williams, and I know sometimes, listen, Andrade might be underprepared. There could be a lot of things. He may have not taken camp seriously, maybe not taken Liam Williams seriously. I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think when you're someone like Andrade, who hasn't really fought a lot of top-level opponents, like Liam Williams was probably the best guy in my opinion, when I go through his resume, probably the best guy he got in the ring with. And he struggled. And to me, if I'm honest with you, I think, which is sad, this is sad what I'm about to say, I think Andrade's best days are behind him. Andrade's been on top, or he's been a world champion for quite a while. And what I mean by that, he's been fighting at world level for a very, very long time. A very long time. But his level of opponents have been very, very, you know, you would say mediocre. They haven't been very high level. You know, I don't even think he's fought any world-class fighters, if I'm honest with you. You know, I can't even think of any marquee wins on his resume. There's nothing. And I think, unfortunately, his best days might be behind him. Now, we don't know, because the level of opposition has been so poor that we just don't know. And even though Golovkin's past his best, but we know that Golovkin's past his best because we've seen Golovkin in there with decent fighters. So we know what Golovkin was, and we've seen him against Dervinchenko, and we think, oh, he looks like he's sliding. But with Andrade, because his opposition has been so poor, and now he's looking for that step up, and he needs to step up now because he's only getting older, and he's been very inactive as well, Andrade. I honestly think if I was Golovkin or Charlo, I'd be pushing that fight through, because I think there's a great chance they beat Andrade. On that performance, and not just on that performance, I think Golovkin and Charlo's style is all wrong for Andrade. I think they're physically very strong. I think they punch very hard. I think they've both got granite chins. I think although Andrade's a slickster, I don't know how long he's going to be able to, you know, in a fight with guys that are physically strong as Golovkin and Charlo, that can punch, that are explosive. I don't know how many rounds he can go without getting tagged or without even getting tired. Because for me, in the Liam Williams fight, I didn't like his body language. I thought he was tired. I thought he was leggy. He was hurt in the fight. Liam Williams isn't as big a puncher as Charlo or Golovkin. I think Golovkin and Charlo will stop him. That's just my honest opinion. So if you're Golovkin and Charlo looking at that fight, you've got to be knocking the door down for that fight. And I actually think if I was Golovkin, that fight's easy to make. You know, Charlo's a very hard fight to make because Charlo's with the PBC. And we all know that these crossover fights. But having said that, Andrade had said that he's willing to go and fight him on Fox. And I don't think there's a problem there. I don't think there's a problem there making the fight, because I don't really think Andrade knows he's not a big draw. Andrade would be willing to go over to PBC and Fox or wherever Charlo fights and fight him there. He don't mind being the B side. I think Andrade's already resigned to that fact that he's willing to go over to Fox and fight. Andrade's willing to go and fight Charlo on PBC. I think they're resigned to that. I think Andrade won't mind that. So I even think that fight's not hard to make, because normally when it's a cross promotion and, you know, different broadcasts, is hard because who's the A side, you know, what network is it going to be on. But I don't think in this scenario that's the case, because Andrade is willing to fight Golovkin. Willing to fight Charlo on PBC on Fox. So that is not an issue. So there's no real issues in making either fight. I think Jermall Charlo fighting Montiel, I don't understand that. Just go into a unification fight. You know, even look to scrap that fight and maybe go straight into a unification fight with and I know it might sound bad on Montiel, because obviously he's probably looking forward to a title shot. But straight after that fight, I think Jermall Charlo's got to get into negotiation with someone like Andrade, and let's unify the division, because we need to unify the division, see who the best middleweight is out there. And I just think having pointless fights, there's no need for it when there's guys free, ready to fight. And like I said, Andrade has already made it straight clear that he'd be willing to fight Jermall on Fox. So really, there's no issues here. There should be no issues. It should be easy to make. And as a fan, as a hardcore boxing fan, I want to see Jermall Charlo fight Andrade. I think it's a great fight. I want to see Jermall Charlo. I want to see Andrade v Golovkin. See, Andrade needs a big fight. He needs a big fight. And to be honest with you, I make Charlo and Golovkin firm favourites in that fight. A lot of people still are on Andrade's hype train. And Andrade's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But I think there's a lot of flaws in his game. He's got a very energy-consuming style. He's not a big puncher, especially for those two guys. He's not gonna knock them out, in my opinion. And I think though their styles are all wrong. They're physically very strong. They walk you down. They're explosive. They both punch very hard, right? They're all wrong for Andrade. Honestly, they're all wrong. So I don't see why those guys will be reluctant getting in, especially after watching the Liam Williams fight. I just don't. I think Andrade is what he is. He's a good slickster. He may look good for a couple of rounds, but if you can absorb what he's going to dish out for a first couple of rounds. Remember, Charlo and Golovkin are a lot more powerful than Liam Williams. They punch a lot harder. They're explosive as well. And generally, I think both of them are better boxers. And I like Liam Williams. I think Liam Williams is a good fighter. But for me, Charlo and Golovkin would beat Liam Williams. They would both beat him, as far as I'm concerned. I think Liam Williams' best chance of winning a world title would be against Ryota Murata. And if I was Golovkin and I was looking at that, I would fight Andrade in the summer and look to unify. And then fight Murata in December. That way, you're now going to put yourself in a position for a Canelo fight. Because Canelo's going to think about it. I could fight Golovkin, then I could fight Charlo, and I'm undisputed at middleweight. You see, you're putting yourself in a better position for you to get the Canelo fight. So Golovkin really needs to fight. I think if he was to fight Andrade, I'm very confident he beats Andrade. Even this version, his style is all wrong for Andrade. It's all wrong. I think Andrade has an energy-consuming style. And I just think Golovkin's pressure, power, I think Andrade will fold. And I think Charlo would do exactly the same, because Charlo is exactly that same type of fighter. He's a very strong... and Andrade might be able to outbox Charlo for a couple of rounds. But I don't think he can do it for 12 rounds. And I don't think he can do it for 12 rounds against someone like Golovkin. Golovkin will walk you down, and he's not going to have any respect for Andrade's power. He's going to walk him down. Listen, if Liam Williams was walking him down, right, and he didn't have much respect after being knocked down early on, and I felt he was troubling Andrade and making it a physical fight, what's Golovkin going to do? Who's a better boxer than Liam Williams, for me, got a better chin than Liam Williams, hits harder than Liam Williams. You know, I don't see him beating Golovkin. I don't see him beating Charlo. You know, to be able to do that for 12 rounds against like a bull like Charlo and Golovkin is very difficult, because Andrade hasn't got anything to keep them off of them. You know, Liam Williams isn't Golovkin or Charlo. I know Dominic Ingle was saying he probably beats. I think they were just saying it to make Liam's performance look better. Liam's not Golovkin or Charlo. You know, if Liam Williams was to fight Golovkin or Charlo, honestly, I think both of them stop him. And I rate Liam Williams. I think Liam Williams was very underrated going into the fight. I like Liam Williams, and I don't think he could beat Charlo or Golovkin. I think both of them stop him. And for me, if Liam Williams had a little bit more self-belief in that fight, I think he could have beaten Andrade as well. I think he hurt Andrade really bad in the 9th round. And even in the 3rd round, I think he caught him with a right hand. And Andrade's his body language didn't look good in that fight at all. Honestly, I felt like Liam Williams had opportunities in that fight to beat him, to stop him. Honestly, Andrade was clever, and he grabbed and he held a lot. Smothered Liam Williams and grabbed, and he held. And don't get me wrong, Andrade looked massive in there compared to Liam Williams. Andrade looked huge. But if I'm honest with you, that wasn't really an impressive performance. He did well first couple of rounds, but after that, Liam Williams was in the fight. He was in the fight. You know, in the 9th round, I thought, oh, there may be an upset here. I just don't think he'll get away with that against Golovkin. And I'm basing this on the fact that I don't think he took Liam Williams lightly. I just think that's Andrade. What we saw there is Andrade. That's how good Andrade is. You know, he's a little sloppy, a bit leggy, you know, gets tire out later on if someone's able to put pressure. And when I look at Golovkin and Charlo's style, see, I actually think a lot of people think Billy beats Andrade. Billy Joe. I actually think Andrade has a better chance of beating Billy Joe than he does Charlo and Golovkin. Styles make fights. I think a style like Golovkin and Charlo that are going to put pressure on Andrade is a nightmare style, because they're not going to have, I don't think they're going to be worried about what he's throwing, and they're going to be walking him down, and they're very powerful. Like I said, they punch a lot harder than Liam Williams. They're a lot more aggressive. Right? He'll tire more. And they have the kind of power that could take Andrade out. If Liam Williams is hurting you with a right hand, what's Golovkin's power? What's Golovkin going to do? What's Charlo going to do? I've seen Charlo knock people out. Charlo's a strong guy. He punches hard. So, to be honest with you, I agree with Eddie Hearn on that performance. I think you have to make Charlo and Golovkin favourites against Andrade. Unless that was just a poor performance from Andrade, which I don't think it was. I think that's what Andrade is. You know, I think that's what Andrade is. And for me, Charlo and Golovkin's style is all wrong for Demetrius Andrade. All wrong. And Liam Williams showed that. Liam Williams really troubled Andrade in that fight, and people aren't picking up on it. He really did well in that fight. Like I said, he lacked a little bit of self-belief. If he went for it when he hurt him in that 9th round a little more, Andrade was there for the taking. And I think Liam Williams did really well in that fight. Did really well. Definitely had, you know, I was quite surprised Frank Warren didn't give him a lot of credit for that performance. I actually thought he did really well. I thought Andrade would dominate a lot more than he did. He wasn't able to. You know, Liam Williams did really well. And even Dominic Ingle after the fight, he didn't really seem to give his own fighter as much credit as I thought he would. He did say that, he left everything in the ring, and, I'm proud of him and stuff like that. But I thought he could have won that fight. Honestly, I don't think Andrade is. I think Andrade's a good fighter, but I definitely think Charlo and Golovkin beat him. And that's just my opinion on it. I think their style is all wrong. I think Andrade would do better against someone like Billy Joe Saunders, who's a slick fighter. I think Andrade would do a lot better because Andrade's taller. He's got the reach over Billy Joe. I just think that fight stylistically suits Andrade a lot more. And I can see why Andrade was gunning for that Billy Joe Saunders fight. Because I think styles make fights. I think stylistically he would have a much better chance than he would against Charlo and Andrade, because those guys aren't going to respect what he's got. They're going to walk forward, and eventually they're gonna catch him. And I think with the vulnerability showed against Liam Williams, I don't think Golovkin and Charlo would let him get away with that. It's all right. He might be able to outbox them for a couple of rounds, but you got to do it for 12 rounds. I don't think he can do it for 12 rounds against those guys. I think they punch too hard. I think they're too aggressive. They're going to put too much pressure on him. And what we saw there is that his stamina wasn't great. He was blowing very heavy towards the later rounds. You know, he also showed vulnerability in terms of taking a punch. And Charlo and Golovkin punch a lot harder, right, than Liam Williams. So I honestly think that, you know, if I was Golovkin or Charlo, I'd be looking to make that fight ASAP, because I think they would be firm favourites going in. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with Eddie Hearn? Do you disagree? Do you think Charlo and Golovkin are heavy favourites, or do you actually think it was just an off night by Demetrius Andrade? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.